Albert Anastasia was one of the most feared and ruthless mobsters in American history, a man whose name struck terror in the hearts of both law enforcement and his fellow criminals. As the brutal leader of Murder, Inc., the enforcement arm of the Mafia responsible for hundreds of assassinations, Anastasia played a pivotal role in shaping organized crime in the United States. His rise to power was marked by ruthless ambition, unparalleled violence, and a willingness to eliminate anyone who stood in his way. From his early days as a young Italian immigrant to his shocking execution in a Manhattan barbershop, Anastasia's story is one of bloodshed, betrayal, and an unrelenting thirst for power. Despite his violent tendencies, Anastasia wasn't just another mobster. He was a force of nature. His unpredictable rages, willingness to kill without hesitation, and almost mythical status as an executioner earned him the nickname, the Lord High Executioner. Even among hardened criminals, he was a figure to be feared. His ultimate downfall, orchestrated by his own underworld rivals, remains one of the most infamous mob hits of all time. From the docks of Brooklyn to the seat of power in the Gambino crime family, Anastasia's rise and fall is one of the most captivating and terrifying stories in the annals of organized crime. His control over the docks mirrored that of the Genovese crime family, who later held an iron grip on the New York waterfront, making it nearly impossible for any shipment to be unloaded without Mafia approval. Born Umberto Anastasio on September 26, 1902 in Calabria, Italy, Albert Anastasia was one of 9 children raised in a poor family. Seeking a better life, he and several of his brothers immigrated to the United States in 1919, settling in Brooklyn, New York. He found work as a longshoreman on the docks, but the young immigrant had a violent streak that would soon make him stand out. In 1921, Anastasia was convicted of murdering a fellow dock worker and sentenced to death. However, in a foreshadowing of his future ability to manipulate the system, key witnesses mysteriously vanished, and his conviction was overturned. This early brush with the justice system only strengthened his reputation for being untouchable. Years later, the Genovese family would run a similar game, placing informants inside the FBI, allowing them to stay ahead of the law for decades. After his release, Anastasia quickly became involved in organized crime, forging alliances with future Mafia powerhouses such as Lucky Luciano, Frank Costello, and Joe Adonis. By the late 1920s, the young thug had graduated from petty dockside violence to high-level extortion, racketeering, and contract killings. His sheer brutality and unwavering loyalty made him an indispensable asset to the rising faction of mobsters seeking to overthrow the old-school Mafia bosses who still clung to Sicilian traditions. In the coming years, Anastasia would prove to be one of the most valuable and feared enforcers in the criminal underworld. Much like Vito Genovese, who orchestrated hits even while in exile in Italy, Anastasia's influence reached beyond physical presence. His ability to command violence from the shadows made him an untouchable force. During the 1930s, Anastasia became a key figure in the formation of Murder, Inc., the enforcement squad that carried out contract killings for the National Crime Syndicate. Based in Brooklyn, this lethal group, which included notorious hitmen like Lepka Buchalter and Abe Kid Twist Reyes, was responsible for hundreds of murders across the country. Anastasia, known for his ferocity, did not just give orders. He often participated in the killings himself. His nickname, the Lord High Executioner, was well earned. He instilled fear in everyone around him, knowing that his unpredictability made him even more dangerous. Those who dared to cross him often met a swift and brutal end, their disappearances leaving little trace. The sit-down, a tradition later perfected by the Genovese family, was used by Anastasia as well. But for him, there was little negotiation. His enemies often didn't walk away. Anastasia's loyalty to Lucky Luciano proved invaluable in the infamous 1931 power struggle that reshaped the Mafia landscape. When Luciano sought to overthrow the traditionalist boss Joe Masseria, Anastasia was one of the gunmen who ambushed Masseria in a Coney Island restaurant, riddling him with bullets. This coup paved the way for Luciano to establish the modern structure of the American Mafia, and Anastasia was handsomely rewarded with control over waterfront rackets. As an enforcer, he dictated the violent fate of countless individuals, ensuring that Murder, Inc. remained a formidable force in the world of organized crime. Like Vincent the Chin Gigante, who later faked insanity for 30 years to evade prosecution, Anastasia knew that power meant staying steps ahead of both enemies and the law. By the early 1950s, Anastasia had firmly established himself as one of the most powerful men in the American underworld. In 1951, he solidified his control over the Anastasia crime family, which would later become the Gambino family, following the mysterious disappearance of its previous boss, Vincent Mangano. Mangano, who had long resented Anastasia's growing power, vanished without a trace, while his brother Philip Mangano was found shot to death. Though Anastasia denied involvement, the message was clear: anyone who stood in his way would be eliminated. His ruthlessness was reminiscent of Anthony Tony D. Palumbo of the Genovese family, who later made the fatal mistake of confessing to murder while talking to himself in a wiretapped car. As the new boss, Anastasia ruled with an iron fist, demanding absolute loyalty and resorting to extreme measures to maintain control. His reign was marked by several high-profile murders, including the suspected assassination of Arnold Schuster, a civilian who had assisted the police in capturing a fugitive. Anastasia's decision to order Schuster's execution, reportedly because he despised squealers of any kind, shocked even his fellow mobsters. This reckless behavior, combined with his open displays of brutality, made him a dangerous liability. Unbeknownst to him, rival factions were already plotting his demise. On the morning of October 25, 1957, Anastasia walked into the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan for what would be his last shave. He had no idea that he was walking into an ambush carefully orchestrated by his enemies. As he sat in the barber chair, two masked gunmen stormed in, firing multiple shots into his body. In a dramatic and eerie scene, Anastasia instinctively lunged forward, swinging wildly at his attackers, only to realize he was fighting his own reflection in the barbershop mirror. Seconds later, he collapsed onto the floor, lifeless. The hit had been masterminded by Vito Genovese and Carlo Gambino, who had grown tired of Anastasia's erratic leadership. With Anastasia out of the way, Gambino assumed control of the family, ushering in a new era of Mafia leadership. Even decades after his death, Anastasia's story continues to fascinate true crime enthusiasts. His life has inspired books, films, and television shows, with elements of his persona appearing in The Godfather and The Sopranos. His notorious execution remains one of the most famous mob hits of all time, immortalizing him in the dark history of the American Mafia. His story is a chilling reminder that in the world of organized crime, loyalty is fleeting, and death is always just around the corner.